All right, so are you ready to unlock this mystery that's confused English speakers forever? Today we're diving deep into the Spanish verbs ser and estar,
Oh,
which both mean to be.
right.
But um, as you'll see, there's a whole world of nuance behind these simple words.
You're absolutely right. It's a classic stumbling block for anyone learning Spanish.
Yeah.
But once you grasp the logic behind these verbs, you just unlock a whole new level of fluency and cultural understanding.
And lucky for us, you, our listeners, sent in a fantastic video that's
Wow.
packed with practice exercises on this very topic. It's going to be our roadmap for this deep dive.
That's a great resource. It's through real-life examples that we can truly grasp the subtleties of these verbs.
Okay, so the first example from the video is Juan está muy enfadado, which translates to Juan is very angry.
Oh.
Now, I might be tempted to use S for is,
Uh-huh.
but the video uses está. What's the deal here?
That's a great question, and it gets right to the heart of the difference between ser and estar. In this case, estar is used because we're talking about a temporary state.
Right.
Juan is angry right now, but that feeling will likely pass. It's not a permanent part of his personality.
Hmm. So it's about how long-lasting the situation is.
Right.
I see, if Juan was known for his fiery temper, maybe we'd use S to say Juan is an angry person. Is that on the right track?
You're picking up on the nuances beautifully.
Okay.
Ser is often used to describe essential qualities, things that are considered permanent or at least very long-lasting.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, next up we have Yo no soy de Málaga,
Okay.
which means I am not from Malaga.
Right.
Now here we do see soy, which comes from ser,
Mm-hmm.
but wouldn't your place of origin always stay the same? Why use ser if it's unchangeable?
Excellent point. And this is where we start to see how ser reflects a deeper aspect of Spanish thought. It's not just about what's factually permanent,
Right.
but also about what defines someone's identity.
Okay.
Where you're from is seen as an essential part of who you are, even if you move away.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's like the verb itself is telling us something about how Spanish speakers view the world.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the next example, which honestly made me chuckle a bit.
Okay.
María está muy guapa con su vestido rojo. The translation is, Maria is very pretty with her red dress.
Okay.
Why está here? Is it because the dress is temporary?
You got it. It's highlighting that Maria's prettiness is enhanced by the dress, but it's not necessarily a permanent state.
Okay.
If we use S here, it would imply that Maria is always that pretty, regardless of what she's wearing.
So even though we might consider someone inherently beautiful, Spanish prefers to focus on the current state, the in-the-moment prettiness, so to speak.
Precisely. It's a subtle difference, but it reveals a lot about how Spanish prioritizes the present moment.
Okay, this next one threw me for a loop.
Okay.
¿Dónde están mis llaves? Which means, where are my keys?
Okay.
Now, I get that locations can change,
Right.
but keys are physical objects.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't that be son from ser? I mean, they are located somewhere specific, right?
You've hit on a really interesting point.
Yeah.
While it's true that a physical object is located somewhere, its position can change.
Okay.
So Spanish uses estar to emphasize the key's current location, which could be different tomorrow.
Right.
It's almost like the language is acknowledging the inherent fluidity of even seemingly fixed things.
Wait, so even if something seems permanent to me,
Yeah.
Spanish might see it as temporary. That's a real mind bender.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this is what makes learning a new language so rewarding.
Right.
It's not just about vocabulary and grammar.
Yeah.
It's about gaining a new perspective on the world.
Okay. I'm officially intrigued. Let's tackle a few more of these examples before my brain explodes.
Okay.
What do we have next?
Next up, we have ¿Quiénes sois vosotros?,
Okay.
which translates to who are you?
Okay. So we're back to soi, a form of ser.
Yeah.
Makes sense, since who you are at your core is a pretty fundamental characteristic. You can't just decide to be someone else tomorrow.
Exactly. Identity, like origin, is often linked to ser.
Right.
It speaks to something essential and unchanging about a person.
All right, I'm starting to feel like I'm getting the hang of this.
Uh.
What's next?
Let's see. The next example is Nosotras estamos en París,
Got it.
meaning we are in Paris.
Another location, another estamos. All right, so even though Paris is a fixed city,
Uh-huh.
our presence there is temporary. We'll move on eventually, even if we wish we could stay forever.
You've got it. It's all about the context and how Spanish conceptualizes the situation.
Okay, bring on the next challenge. I'm ready to put my newfound ser versus estar wisdom to the test.
All right, then prepare to be amazed by the next example. It involves a gerund, which always adds a little extra spice to the mix.
Ooh.
Yeah. This next sentence from the video is, Mi padre está durmiendo la siesta,
Okay.
which means my father is taking a nap. Notice we have está, but this time it's paired with durmiendo,
Right.
which is the ing form of the verb, also known as a gerund.
Ooh, a gerund.
Ugh.
Okay, so in English we'd use is for is taking.
Right.
But in Spanish, it seems like gerunds always go with estar. Why is that?
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Gerunds, those banding verbs, almost always signal an action in progress, something temporary by its very nature.
Okay.
Your dad won't be napping forever, hopefully.
Unless he's discovered the secret to eternal siestas. But I digress. Okay, so gerunds equal temporary actions, which means estar is the perfect match. Got it. What else does this video have in store for us?
Let's see. The next example is Manuel y Jose son primos,
Oh.
or Manuel and Jose are cousins.
Okay, so we're back to son, which comes from ser. I'm guessing that's because family relationships like origins are seen as permanent, right?
Exactly. Family relationships are considered fundamental to a person's identity.
Right.
They define who Manuel and Jose are in relation to each other, and that connection doesn't change easily.
It's amazing how these verbs reveal so much about the Spanish way of thinking. All right, hit me with another example.
The next one is La farmacia está en la esquina,
Okay.
which translates to the pharmacy is on the corner.
Another location, another está. No surprises there. Even corner pharmacies can't escape the temporary label when it comes to Spanish verbs.
Precisely. Even though it might seem like a pharmacy would always be on that corner,
Right.
the use of a scar suggests it could potentially change. Maybe it moves to a bigger building down the street, or maybe the whole neighborhood undergoes a transformation.
It's like Spanish is always acknowledging the possibility of change, even for things that seem pretty stable. Okay, what's next?
Prepare for another gerund.
Okay.
Estoy lavando los dientes,
All right.
meaning I am brushing my teeth.
Okay, let me see if I can explain this one.
Go for it.
We have estoy, because the act of brushing is happening right now. And since it's an action in progress, it's temporary. You can't brush your teeth forever, even though dentists probably wish we would.
You've got it. You're becoming quite the ser and estar expert.
Oh, shucks. It's all thanks to this awesome video and your expert guidance, of course.
It's okay.
Okay, what's next on our verb venture?
The next sentence is, Mi hermana es ingeniera, which means, my sister is an engineer.
Okay, so we're back to S from ser. At first glance, this seems like another straightforward example. Professions feel pretty permanent.
Right.
But then again, people do change careers.
Yeah,
So why use ser here?
that's a great observation.
Yeah.
You're right, people do change careers, but at the time of speaking, being an engineer is a defining part of your sister's identity.
Okay.
It's how she sees herself professionally and how others likely perceive her as well.
So it's not just about whether something can change, but how it's being perceived or presented in the moment.
Exactly. Context is key. And in this case, ser is being used to describe a current reality, even if that reality might shift in the future.
This is making me realize how much we take for granted in our own language. We just used to be for everything, and it's up to the listener to figure out the nuances.
That's true. English relies heavily on context, whereas Spanish is much more explicit in how it categorizes states of being.
Okay, I'm ready for another example. Bring it on.
All right, how about this one?
Okay.
Los canguros son animales.
Okay, meaning kangaroos are animals.
Okay, that one seems pretty straightforward. Son from ser makes sense because it's just a fact of nature. A kangaroo can't suddenly decide to be a fish.
Exactly. Being an animal is a fundamental, unchangeable characteristic of a kangaroo.
Right.
There's no temporary state or opinion involved. It simply is what it is.
All right, next example, please.
Los restaurantes están cerrados.
Okay,
Translation. The restaurants are closed.
interesting. This one feels a bit different. Restaurants can be closed permanently, but in this sentence it feels temporary, like maybe they're closed for a holiday or renovations. Is that why están is used?
You're spot on. Even though it's possible the restaurants have closed for good,
Right.
the use of están suggests a temporary situation. It's all about reading between the lines and considering the most likely scenario.
Spanish is like a detective game. You have to look for clues and piece together the speaker's intended meaning.
That's a great way to think about it. It's not just about memorizing rules.
Right. It's about developing a feel for the language and its nuances.
Okay, give me another clue to decipher. What's next?
The video gives us vosotros no sois de por aquí,
Okay.
which translates to you are not from around here.
Okay, so we have sois from ser, which would make sense because we're talking about origins.
Right.
But what if someone moves? Does their origin change? Can you suddenly become from somewhere else?
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
While you can certainly relocate and build a new life in a different place,
Right.
your place of origin remains a part of your personal history. So even if you've lived in a new city for years, you're still from your original hometown in a fundamental way.
It's like ser captures that unchangeable part of your story, that thread that connects you to your past.
I love that.
Okay, what's next?
Next up, déjame en paz, estoy descansando.
Oh, okay.
This translates to, leave me alone, I'm resting.
Okay, so someone is clearly not in the mood for company.
No.
Grammatically speaking, we see estoy plus the gerund descansando. We've definitely encountered this combo before.
Yes, and as we've discussed, the gerund always signals an action in progress, making it a perfect fit for a star. The speaker is emphasizing that they are currently in the act of resting and they want to be left in peace to enjoy their tranquility.
I can relate to that feeling. Okay, what's next?
Next we have, Mamá, papá, estáis en casa,
Okay.
meaning, Mom, Dad, are you home?
Another question about location and another appearance of a star. This time it's estáis, but the
Yeah.
logic is the same, right?
Exactly. Even someone's home, a place we typically associate with permanence and stability,
Right.
is considered temporary in the context of Spanish verbs. Your parents could be out running errands, visiting friends, or even on a fabulous vacation.
It really highlights how Spanish prioritizes the present moment.
Yeah.
It's all about where things are right now rather than making assumptions about permanence. I
Okay.
like that. Okay, what's next?
The next sentence is, Juan y yo estamos comiendo,
Okay.
which means Juan and I are eating.
All right, another Jared alert.
Yes.
Comiendo means eating, which is clearly an action in progress, so estamos. It is.
You're on a roll. It seems like you've cracked the code of ser and Estar.
Don't jinx me. I'm still waiting for the video to throw a real curveball.
Okay.
Okay, what else do we have?
How about this? Susana y yo somos de Portugal,
Okay.
meaning Susanna and I are from Portugal.
Okay, so we have somos, a form of ser, which lines up perfectly with our origin rule.
Right.
But what's interesting here is the use of de to express from. Is that always the case with origins?
Yes, that's a great observation.
Okay.
When talking about being from a place, you'll almost always use the construction ser followed by de. It's a key phrase to remember.
So ser de equals to be from. I'm adding that to my mental Spanish cheat sheet right now. What's next?
The video offers the sentence, Los chicos están jugando en el parque.
Okay.
Translation, the boys are playing in the park.
Let's see. We have another gerund, jugando, meaning playing, which is paired with están. Okay, I think I'm starting to understand why this video is so helpful for practice. Seeing these patterns over and over again really helps solidify the concepts.
Repetition is key to internalizing these subtle distinctions, and this video provides plenty of examples to help you do just that.
Okay, I'm ready for the final two examples before we give our listener a chance to process all of this amazing information. Hit me.
Here's a potentially tricky one.
Okay.
Los perros negros no son míos,
Okay.
meaning the black dogs are not mine.
Okay, so we have son from ser, but why? We're not talking about origins or permanent characteristics here. What's the logic?
This sentence touches on the concept of possession, which in Spanish is often linked to ser.
Okay.
It's making a factual statement. The dogs do not belong to the speaker.
Right.
This isn't a temporary state or a matter of opinion.
Okay.
It's a statement of ownership, and therefore ser is the appropriate verb.
So possession, like origin and identity, often falls under the ser umbrella. That's interesting. Okay, well, what's the final example before we wrap up this section?
The last sentence in this set is, Mi padre está muy contento,
Okay.
meaning my father is very happy.
Okay, so we see está being used to describe his emotional state, which aligns with what we've learned about estar in temporary states.
Right.
But what if someone is generally a happy person? Would we still use estar?
That's a great question, and it brings up an important point about how Spanish views emotions. Even if someone is generally happy, Spanish tends to focus on the current state of emotion rather than making broad statements about personality.
Okay.
So unless you're specifically talking about someone's inherent disposition, estar is usually the better choice.
Okay. So even happy-go-lucky folks get the estar treatment when describing their current feelings. It's all about the in-the-moment emotional state.
Exactly. Spanish encourages us to be present and attentive to how we're feeling right now, rather than getting bogged down in labels or generalizations.
We've covered a lot of ground here, and I'm sure our amazing listener has been working hard to keep up with all these ser and estar examples.
I hope so.
So we're going to pause here for a moment to give everyone a chance to digest all this verby goodness. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more insights and a final challenge to test your newfound Sir and Estar mastery. Okay, we're back and ready to tackle this final stretch of our Sir and Estar deep dive. So give yourself a pat on the back, dear listener, for making it this far. You've wrestled with gerunds, pondered the nature of permanence, and now it's time to kind of synthesize everything we've learned.
You're absolutely right. The last part of this video is like a treasure chest of key takeaways.
Okay.
It lays out some general guidelines for when to use Sir and Estar.
I have to admit, I was a bit overwhelmed by all the examples at first.
Yeah.
But when I saw these rules laid out clearly, it was like a light bulb went off.
That's the beauty of seeing the patterns emerge. It goes from feeling like a jumble of random sentences to a system you can actually understand and use.
Okay, let's dive into these rules. The first one is situación permanente o de larga duración, which means permanent or long-lasting situation. And the video puts this firmly in the SEER camp. No surprises there, right?
Exactly. We've seen this play out in countless examples. Origins, family relationships, professions.
Yeah.
These are all things that define who or what something is in a lasting way.
Got it. Next up, estado de salud o de ánimo, which means state of health or mood.
Oh, okay.
And this one falls under Estar. Again, makes total sense.
Right. Your health and your mood can change from day to day, even hour to hour.
Right.
Spanish captures that fluidity beautifully with Estar.
Okay, now this next rule had me scratching my head at first.
Okay.
It says lugar y momento de un evento, meaning place and time of an event. But the video puts it under ser.
Okay.
Why would that be? Events are temporary.
You've hit on a subtle but crucial distinction.
Okay.
In this context, we're talking about the scheduled time and location, not the event itself.
Right.
So if I say, la fiesta es a las 8 en el restaurante, meaning the party is at 8 Mount at the restaurant, those details are fixed.
Oh, I see. So even though the party itself is a temporary wild bash, the time and location it's happening at are set in stone. That's a sneaky one.
It is. It's a great example of how context shapes meaning.
Okay, next rule. Ubicaciones, which simply means locations. And as we've seen time and time again, this goes under Estar.
We've visited Paris. We've checked out pharmacies on street corners. We've even dropped by our parents' house. And in each case, estar was the verb of choice.
Right.
Because even though places exist, our presence in them is always subject to change.
All right, what's next on the list?
The video gives us descripciones y parentescos, meaning descriptions and family relationships, and this falls under ser.
Okay, I think I can explain this one. Descriptions often focus on inherent qualities like someone's height or eye color. And family relationships, like being someone's cousin or mother, are seen as long-lasting bonds that shape who they are. So both of these fit the ser mold of defining characteristics.
You're absolutely right. It's all about what makes someone or something unique and distinguishes them from others.
Okay, next up is a familiar phrase. Ser de significa origin, posición o material, which translates to ser de signifies origin, position, or material.
This rule is highlighting that all-important construction we talked about earlier, ser de, to express being from a place, being at a location, or being made of a certain material. It's a versatile phrase that captures a range of meanings.
Right.
But they all tie back to that core concept of ser as defining something's essence.
Ser de. I'm definitely going to commit that one to memory. Okay, what else do we have?
Next up is congerundio, meaning with gerunds, those action-packed ing verbs. And of course, this goes with estar.
When we take a crack at explaining this one, gerunds like eating, studying, or taking a nap all describe actions that are happening right now. They're temporary, ongoing processes. And since estar is all about the present moment, it's the perfect partner for a gerund.
You nailed it. You're clearly mastering the logic of ser and estar.
Okay, 3 more rules to go. Next up. Para expresar estaciones, horas y partes del día, utilizamos el verbo ser. Translation. To express seasons, hours, and parts of the day, we use the verb ser. Wait, hold on. So this one seems counterintuitive. Seasons change, time moves forward, the sun rises and sets. How can those be ser things?
You've raised a brilliant point, and it highlights how ser can sometimes be about concepts rather than strictly unchanging realities. Think about it. Winter always follows. Autumn, 7:00 p.m., always comes after 6:00 p.m.
Yeah.
They're fixed points on a scale, even though the actual weather or lighting might vary.
So it's like Spanish is acknowledging that these things have a defined place in the grand scheme of time, even if the specific experience of them might be fleeting. That's deep.
Language can be surprisingly philosophical, can't it?
Okay, next rule. Para expresar tiempo, cantidad y precio, el verbo ser. Meaning, to express time quantity and price, the verb ser. So this one is building on the previous rule, talking about other types of measurements.
Exactly. When we say 3 hours, $10, or 5 kilos, we're using ser because those amounts are fixed at the moment of speaking.
Right.
There's specific quantities that don't fluctuate within the context of the sentence.
Okay, I see. It's all about the frame of reference. Last rule, bring it on.
All right. The final rule is, para hablar de nacionalidades, profesiones y posesiones, el verbo ser. Translation. To talk about nationalities, professions, and possessions, the verb ser, this one feels like a grand finale bringing together a lot of what we've discussed.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a Ser greatest hits compilation.
Yeah.
It makes sense because nationality, your job, and what you own are all central to how you define yourself, at least at a given point in time.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's
Yeah.
about those core aspects of identity that shape who we are and how we interact with the world.
So to sum it all up, ser is the verb of identity, of lasting qualities and defining characteristics.
Right.
While estar is the verb of the here and now of temporary states and actions in progress.
Beautifully put. And you, our amazing listener, have now journeyed through a whole world of examples and explanations to arrive at this understanding.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, but before we say hasta luego, our expert has a final thought-provoking question for you.
Now that you have a deeper understanding of ser and estar, I'd like you to consider how these verbs might be used differently when expressing emotions. Can you come up with your own examples using both ser and estar to describe how you are feeling? For instance, how might you say, I am happy, using both verbs, and what would be the subtle difference in meaning? Give it some thought, and most importantly, keep practicing.
That's a fantastic challenge, and remember, becoming fluent in a new language takes time and effort. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Embrace the journey, and you'll be amazed at how far you can go. Hasta luego, and happy learning.